What's up, everybody? How are you? It's good to see you, and it's good to be seen by you, especially if you're in Louisiana. Otherwise, it's just good to be seen. Swamp. I, of course, am the one and only Bill Sylvie, aka the Dungeon Delver, coming to you live, loud and clear from an undisclosed location somewhere in sunny Central Florida. Wheeling Dragon, Kabuki, Mojo, Unto Excess, St. Cuthbert, Damien 247, Ion Farber, IWS Bull, Yang Yan Zhao, Recon, and Doc Flamingo. And I think I got just about everybody this evening. How the heck are you guys? I hope you're doing well. I'm doing all right myself. Let's do that. Let's embiggen the comments so we can see those. Oh, Savo, hey, how are you, kid? It's wonderful to see you. I have been missing my vitamin Savo around here, and I'm so glad you're here. It's been a long, lonely time. I hope you're out there, and I hope you've had a chance to relax, to have fun, and to keep on making that wonderful art that we all know and love. Remdog 1138, good to see you too. But it is a no, that's do not start off been with family these last months with sorry. I get it. I completely understand. That is wonderful. So oh, and David Montgomery, good to see you too. So were any TSR modules released but recalled for some reason? Yes, Unto Excess right out of the chute. We're going to come back to your question, Unto Excess, in just a minute. As soon as I remind you guys that if you haven't already, would you please honor me? Would you please do me the awesome honor of clicking the subscribe button and clicking the bell icon for notifications so that you can join in the fun every time, guys. We're at 9,147 subscribers. We are crawling to 10,000 subs, because what happens when we hit 10,000 subs, guys? Well, I'm going to start planning the Great Underground Online Gaming Convention. That's right. Except it's going to be the Great Underground Overland Gaming Convention. That's right. The Guac is going to be here. IWS Bull up in Northeast Alabama. Can I get a roll tide from you, IWS Bull? I hope I can. So yes, Guac draws ever nearer. We are 800 and change away from hitting that goal, and I think we can hit it by mid-year. I think we can hit that by mid-year, so I'm excited about it. But do me a favor, if you would, please. Hell yeah, IWS Bull. Did you know that TSR alumni? Oh no, wait, I gotta do the voice. Did you know that TSR alumni and author of A3 Assault on the Area of the Slave Lords, Alan Hammock, attended the capstone at the University of Alabama? That's right. He was a student there in the 1970s when the team was coached by legendary college football coach Paul Bear Bryant before he traveled to Wisconsin to work for TSR. So, yes, it is drawing ever closer. And if you want a little convention action down here in the Sunshine State, then yeah, click subscribe button, click the bell icon for notifications. This video is brought to you by Crom, the character record organizational manager software. Folks, it's not just a character generator, okay? There's character generators out there on the internet you can find. Guys, this manages characters. You level your characters up, you can age them, you can drain levels, you can buy equipment, you can sell gems and jewelries, you can dual class, any class, race, stat combo legal for first edition AD&D. And guys, I'm here to tell you, it outputs in HTML and it outputs in text. Swap those character sheets around with your game master or with your players, and you'll just have a fine old time. I don't know why I started sounding like Stephen He for a brief second there. Swap those character sheets around for emotional damage. So yeah, that is something you can participate in. Of course, you can also, if you want, you can support the channel on Patreon. You can support the channel as a channel member. We've got awesome stuff coming up on the Patreon soon. Very soon, I'm going to get back to, hey, Chuckles70, good to see you. I'm going to get back to for our top end subscribers, our master thieves. You guys are going to be receiving an AD&D module a month. Is Chrome only available one character? That's right on 2XS, because it runs on Windows 8, 8.1, Windows 10, and Windows 11, 32 or 64-bit, and it runs under Linux through Wine and on Mac OS through Wine. How about that? How about that? All of that. Oh, I'm glad you asked that, Savo. I am very, very glad you asked that. That's a good question. We're gonna put that one in the pile too. In fact, I'm getting such good questions. We're gonna talk about these before we get into the hot topic of tonight, by which I mean, of course, buying cheaply made goth clothes and band t-shirts. When I say hot topic, right? Who doesn't want a Jack Skellington clutch bag, some iridescent black lipstick, and a Green Day t-shirt, right? But anyway, we will get to y'all's questions before we get to that. So let's just go ahead and do it. Let's just hit it right now. On2XS asks, were any TSR modules ever released but recalled for some reason? Absolutely. Absolutely. Probably the best known is going to be B3's Palace of the Silver Princess, which came with an orange cover. It barely left TSR before it was recalled. And the reason it was recalled is when the Blooms got a reading copy, that's Brian and Kevin Bloom, they claim that there was a BDSM scene in the middle of the module art-wise. There is a creature called the Decapus. It is a tree-dwelling, basically an octopus that hangs out in trees, and it generates illusions of in the case of the module, a maiden with her hands tied above her wrist while she's being menaced by evil dwarves. And it's to lure the party in, and it can then start using its tentacles to attack and thrash the party. The Blooms said, absolutely not. That's a woman in bondage. We're having trouble enough with the moral majority. We're not having that in the module. The reality is, there's these three-headed giant creatures also in the module called Ubos. And when Errol Otis rendered the Ubos, he on them, now he claims he didn't do this. He claims that they're just random faces, but he says that the faces were just normal. The Blooms claimed that they were being mocked, that their faces were on the heads of the giants, and that one was Gary's and that sort of thing. So there's two schools of thought there. It was either the objectionable Decapus art, or it was the Blooms being made fun of. It is literally, she is literally just has her hands like that. She's fully clothed. There's no skin showing except her hands and her face. And the bad guys surrounding her, they look like they're menacing her, not like they're about to do something of an essay nature to her. So copies of those modules are exceptionally rare, going for thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Now, as far as books go, and I know you didn't ask about books, but as far as books go, um, that is a different case. There were two print runs of the Dungeon Master's Guide. The very, very first print run that went through the printing machines, there was a piece of baling wire caught in the cover binding mechanism, and it left deep gouges in the covers. And they were all because of where the wire was and where it was impacting when the books were being stamped. It's all the same. It's not just random cuts. You couldn't just take a knife and gouge one and say, oh, look, I have a rare true first. No, it was across several different examples of the book. They stopped the machine, and the books were supposed to be disposed of, but some of them are still floating around out there. Again, highly prized. And the last one was another printing error. The QR and I believe S, or part of the S, but definitely the Q and R sections out of the Monster Manual were printed upside down in the middle of the Dungeon Master's Guide. I have actually seen one of those. I knew a guy when I was a kid who had one of those. When I saw it in his books back in 1980 or 1982 ish, that book was almost completely destroyed from use. Like the covers were falling off and everything, but he was still like, yeah, look at this. So I have seen one. I knew someone who had one, but it is almost certainly completely toasted now. So I hope that answered your question on 2XS. It was a Dungeon Master's Guide that had Monster Manual pages in it. Now to Savo's question, because this is another good one. How would I handle a player who has a great deal of scientific knowledge using it to affect the campaign, i.e., mixing up a chlorine gas bomb to fumigate a goblin cave? Why, Savo, you've gotten soft here lately. I would have thought you would have said a gnome cave, but anyway. So that is actually addressed in the Dungeon Master's Guide, and let's go ahead and take a look at that. I just got to find the section real quick here. Let's see. Okay. All right, so here we are. This is page 32 of the Dungeon Master's Guide. And let me add this to the screen here. Share screen, window. And we're going to put this up here. So this actually has to do with sages. And this is down here, and I'm gonna let's see, I'm gonna scroll it up a little bit, and we're gonna zoom this in. Scroll back down. Any question asked must be within the scope of knowledge of the player character or his or her associates at the time, and such inquiries must always be consistent with the learning of the milieu which you have designed. Thus, if you have no gunpowder in the milieu, no questions regarding the substance, no matter how phrased, would be possible, as none of the inquiring parties could have any inkling that such a thing exists anywhere within the multiverse. Be certain to adhere to this rule strictly. Now, that's not, I don't think that's the only one, but that's edging towards answering your question. So let's see. Here again, Transferal of firearms to the AD&D campaign. Unless you desire to have gunpowder muddying the waters in your fantasy world, it is strongly urged that boot hilt firearms be confined to specific areas. And when gunpowder is brought into the fantasy world, it becomes inert junk. Ergo, no clever alchemist can duplicate it. Likewise, dynamite and similar explosives become inert. And I think that may be it. Yes. Okay. So that's it. So why am I going on with this fall de rol about gunpowder? And what does that have to do with the price of tea in China? So let's go back over here. But anyway, Savo, if you don't want chlorine gas to be a thing that can be made by characters in your game, you literally just say, absolutely not. It doesn't exist. You can't make it. If they say, well, what about green dragon breath? It's magical. Gunpowder, the chemistry of gunpowder, whatever it is, doesn't work in your setting. And that's how you do it. Now let's see. So I hope that answers your question. Let's scroll down a little bit. Your artist sensibilities are tingling. They were bemocked. Yes. So another question here. Which hotel should I book for Delver? First of all, I'm not sure what Delver's Con is nor where that's held, so you'd have to tell me. A show up and throw up con, we're all in. Yeah, no. It will be planned. I will tell you guys how it's going to work. Fear not. We just got to get there. You're quite welcome. Do I get a free cartoon sketch for that, for answering your question so well? I've got some ideas. We'll be in touch. So this thing, and let's see. The topic of discussion came up, and I can't really. I can't really find the actual link, but this came up in discussion, and I kind of wanted to talk about it. It came up in discussion on Twitter. Somebody shared a Reddit post, and I think it's important that we give this some context, because I don't like going to corner of the envelope edge cases and saying, well, oh my God, look at this thing over here. And everybody's like, what? Somebody in 5e is doing something I don't like. Well, la-di freaking da. So what? It's not like it's going to jump out of the 5e books and erase stuff out of your 1e books and draw stink lines coming off of Mordenkainen or something. But I think this is a broad enough topic that we can well, tell me where you're at, Savo. I'll send you a pen and a pad. So I'm a good guy like that. Ultra TTRPGR. Hello. The 5e books have cooties. Yes, they do, Mobius. Stink lines are underused. But the discussion came up from over in Reddit, and then somebody shared it in Twitter. And so there's a lot of discussion in there about, would you kill a character in a game? Because the question came up. The question came up, if or the original post was, one of my players has asked me not to kill their character. What should I do? And I want to preface anything I'm going to say. You are welcome to do whatever you do in your game. You know, and for a 1E guy to be concerned about something asked, I mean, this wasn't even in the alleged OSR subreddit, which is not really OSR. It's a bunch of 5e people who play Swords and Wizardry and Shadow Dark. It's not, guys. I invented the OSR, and it was never supposed to be this thing. Not the phrase OSR. But anyway, I'm getting too far afield. Exactly, you can die and try in character creation, David Montgomery. Going to my house would be like visiting Graceland. No, going to my house would be like going to one of Elvis's roadies' houses. Okay, you want to go to Graceland? You go to Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Unless I'm your Elvis of TTRPGs, then yeah, okay, I guess it tracks. Let's get back on topic here. So, Reddit post, Reddit comment, r/5ednd. And the question again was, should I do this? Should I do this? So, it's a case of, yes, exactly, Savo, exactly. But it's a case of the discussion was in a foreign land, in a foreign city, amongst foreigners, and I don't really want to put myself in the middle of it. But in the broad topic of D&D, certainly someone playing an AD&D game could say, look, I don't want to lose my character. Listener, I can't get my lip. Sunny red. Thank you very much. Sorry, I just can't do that. If you knew me better, Remdog, you know it'd be more like visiting Forrest Gump's house. I like Dungeons and Dragons. That nice fella from Wisconsin let me be an elf on graph paper. See, that was a missed opportunity, I think, for Forrest Gump, was having Forrest up in Wisconsin playing chainmail with Gary, going, you could go into a dungeon and fight a dragon. So ultimately, I don't care what you do in your game, but I feel like this needs addressing. Yes, you absolutely should kill a PC in a game if it comes to it. If the dice rolls don't favor the player and their character bites the dust, let it fall where it may. Let it fall where it may. Guys, in first edition AD&D, there's saving throws. There's protective magic. There's wishes that can bring characters back. There's raise dead. There's resurrection. There's reincarnation. You know, there's the alternate hit point system where you're unconscious and bleeding out at 0, but if you're not knocked down to -3 or lower in a single blow, you're still alive and you've got time for somebody to stabilize you and bring you back. And even Gary says that, oh, you don't have to off the character. But the thing is, yes, it can happen, and yes, it should happen. And I don't think you as a DM should interfere with that. If you're running a Lankmar like AD&D game, then yeah, death should be on the menu, and you should tell that player it's not going to be that kind of game. Maybe join in later if I'm running a softer game, but it's not going to be that kind of game. And it's up to you as a game master to keep the verisimilitude of your game and not wimp out and not go soft and say, okay, all right, because it takes the challenge out of the game. And this kind of merges with a little bit of a discussion. I was talking to someone about this, and it also happened to pop up on the Twitter space. Based. I'm just going to leave that there because Savo is based. But the discussion came up about the Dragonlance modules, and there were a lot of people saying, "Oh, they're not railroady," or what you call railroad is actually good story in the module, and you're there to experience the story, and I see. And to go back over to no, you should definitely honor a player's request not to kill their character, because hey, how many fantasy books do you love where the protagonists are death proof, and yet you read it and you enjoy it just the same? I mean, look, when I was a kid and I was reading The Lord of the Rings for the first time, I didn't know if Frodo was going to make it out. I didn't know if Fafhrd and Greymouth. I didn't know. I mean, the Lankmar books are very bloody-handed. Harry Otto Fisher and Fritz Leiber could have said at the end, yeah, they die, I mean, what about Cowboy Bebop? Cowboy Bebop, spoiler alert. Spike dies at the end of Cowboy Bebop. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Although we have found out since then that they both probably did survive. But at the end of the movie, as ain't no question what happens to them. It's just, and more to the point, guys, books are passive. They're passive entertainment. They're pre-plotted to a desired outcome. Okay, very few books I think have ever been written by, wow, Joe Facetious member, 29 months. Thank you so much. Thank you, Savo. I appreciate that. But I think autocorrect got you there on 2XS. Frito could have joined Gollum in the Isk of Fire. Oh, I think that was supposed to be Lake of Fire, but anyway. But the fact of the matter is there's no just wanted to say Big Billy Bollocks. Oh my god. But there's no similarities between a novel and a D&D game. A D&D game is a simulation of life. A novel is a telling of a tale. And I think you do a great disservice to your players if you preordain things that they're gonna survive. As a young game master, one of the worst mistakes I ever made, we were playing BattleTech, and I literally lost both players that were in that Mech Warrior game when I said, you guys shouldn't worry about this. You're going to beat them. I will never do that to a player. And conversely, I will never honor a player's request of, please don't kill my character. No, I'm sorry. There is a chance your character could die. Maybe it'll be ignominious. Just, you fall in a 40-foot pit. That's 4d6. I roll 6, 6, 6, 5. Your character is immediately unconscious and bleeding out. The party gets ambushed. They don't have a chance to get you out, and your character dies. They drag your body out. They're not high level enough to raise you from dead. They take you to the nearest high level cleric. He casts Raise Dead. You fail your system shock resurrection roll, and your character is done. That happens. That just happens. And I'm not going to change that. And I don't think you should change that. If you establish a game from the get-go and say, character death isn't a thing, it's always going to be kind of nervous and tense, high adventure, you do you. But should you off a character? If that's the way your game is geared, and your if your game world is geared such that there are no guarantees, then stick to your guns. Tell the player, nope. Your character can croak. And stick to it. Stick to it. How much for an actual planned and successful Tuesday night TPK? Every Tuesday night is the opportunity for a TPK. I do not plan TPKs. A TPK can happen at the teeth of 11 giant rats. A TPK can happen because of a huge ancient red dragon. So that is Savo. Speaking of ignominious deaths, anyone have a player character starved at it? I have not. But that's just how it goes, guys. Your character can bite the dust. And for my games, I'm never going to change that. I'll tell you that maybe you shouldn't be playing in the game, but your character can absolutely bite the dust. So Bob's got a question. In my opinion, what does 5e compatible mean to me? A 1e game, just that it adheres to the rules. It adheres to the strictures, the way that encounters and that sort of thing are structured. But if you're talking about tonally, I think it can change because Shadow Dark is, for example, a 5e compatible game, a very 5e compatible game. But, it's one where you can run out of lamp oil and die. It's like 0 hit points equals dead. No, there's not marching death saves. Just your character can just in the early days, was there ever a serious competitor that could have to TSR that could have become the game? In the earliest of days, no, I don't think so. I think by 1977, every company got so busy playing catch up with OD&D that when AD&D dropped and TSR had the financial moxie to put out full color RPG sets and that sort of thing, there was no looking back. And I personally think that's still the case today. There has been, since its creation, one financial quarter when TSR was not the best selling TTRPG ever. One single financial quarter, and it was the first quarter of the first year when Vampire the Masquerade was released. It outsold D&D one time, one quarter, and that was the quarter it was released. After that, they went back to being the 800-pound gorilla, even when TSR was in financial dire straits. Charlie Rogers says, I like the game mechanic for the death saves in TPK, but I'm running a game for my 4 kids where their character gets knocked out. And you know what? That's something else. That's an option given in the Dungeon Master's Guide, the AD&D Dungeon Master's Guide, the 1E AD&D Dungeon Master's Guide says maybe death doesn't occur. Maybe they're horribly scarred and they suffer some lack of faculty because of it. Maybe they're knocked unconscious and put in a coma and captured by the bad guys. No, I think you're thinking of fantasy wargaming. We talked about this. Fantasy wargaming by Bruce Galloway, and it's terrible. It is a cargo cult role-playing game. It is like you met a native islander who had been cut off from Western culture, and you played D&D with them for a month, and then you got on a boat and left, and then they said, I'm going to make up my own fantasy role-playing game. That's what fantasy wargaming by Bruce Galloway is like. And it's bad. It's not good. Oh, and by the way, I want to mention something, guys. No, I have not looked at Shadow Dark, and no, I haven't play tested it or anything. One of the I guess he was a Shadow Dark cheerleader, was working at the booth where Shadow Dark, the publication company that does Shadow Dark, was at the convention at Page. And I tell you, hey, Bronze Age Caveman, I tell you this, guys, not as someone who dislikes anyone's work, because I don't dislike anyone's work. It's just that if you come to me and say, well, why don't you play Shadow Dark? Or why don't you play, I've got the epic wood grain swords and wizardry box. Or why don't you play Mentor Basic Built? Why don't you play Back Me? Why don't you play the black box Dungeons and Dragons introductory set. Why don't you play 2E? Okay, guys, I have the D&D that I want and love. It's first edition AD&D, followed very closely by original D&D if I need something small and portable, like I did when I went to Page. I mean, I think that they are cool games. It's just when I need my fantasy itch scratched, that's what I go for. I don't have the circumference for it, Bob. Unto XS, I don't think there'll be baby goats tonight. If I see her out in the audience, I'll try and make her show up and do a baby goat appearance for us. Good question here from Kabuki. The general opinion of the Middle Earth games. You love that world. So there are 3 or 4 Middle Earth role-playing games. There's the original one from Iron Crown. Unobtainium can't get it anymore. It was basically Rollmaster Light. You can make a really complete character, but what was best about ICE's Middle Earth, or MERP as we called it, was the source material that they came up with. And sadly, that's what got them in trouble with Tolkien Enterprises, because they were just out there creating Middle Earth as they went, filling in all the blanks that J.R.R. Tolkien didn't. And eventually ICE jumped on them and said, you are in breach of contract. The next one to come along was The One Ring, which I have over here. I'm sorry, not The One Ring. The Lord of the Rings role-playing game. It's this one. Never played it. Never really played it. But I have the books. And this is also out of print. These are unobtainium. The thing with the thing with this one was, which Tolkien Enterprises licensed immediately after Iron Crown lost it and the movie started to come out, was they told Decipher, you cannot do role-playing game material of anything except that which is in the films. So any stuff referenced in the books is verboten. This is the Lord of the Rings, the movie, the role-playing game. So it is pretty weak on the ground. Thin on the ground. I'm sorry. It's pretty thin on the ground. So let me just put this back. I have a couple of books for it and the Middle Earth map set, which is gorgeous. Then there was a role-playing game, a Middle Earth role-playing game by Cubicle 7. And it was extremely short-lived. And finally, there was a 5th edition rules set based Middle Earth role-playing game, which is the one that's out right now. Those I haven't played. Those I have not played. There was no D20 MERP. No. Oh, Savo had a good question. Thank you. Let's see. If I could change one thing about AD&D, what would I change? Level caps for elven fighters, please. I would add the 68 caliber cavalry pistol as a weapon, but only available to elven cavaliers who have a crush on their unit commanders. That's an incredibly specific thing, I know, but Sapa will get it. No, one thing that I could change, um, change or add. I'm gonna go with change. I would probably um Hey, thank you, DM Blackwall. It was an absolute gas, my friend. DM Blackwall ran me through, and several other people, including Joe Kaufman, through a very fun adventure of Horde Wars, which was very cool. Um, I loved your soft-spoken ogre and soft-spoken Goblin King, just like, huh, that should have hit. Um, but that was a lot of fun. Thank you. Um, okay, so it was Free League. Thank you. I thought it was Free League. Um, anyway, seriously, one thing I could change about AD&D. Um, I've got the editor's pen. This is not house ruling. This is retroactively going back in time and changing it about D&D, and I only get one single thing to change. I say it, Gary does it. Hmm. I would make psionics better by dint of having psionic actions take segments and occur within the round instead of instantaneous, and making the game stop and become a mini game between the DM and whoever has psionics. One thing I could change about yes, now if I could go back in time and change history, I would take a book on Mediterranean diets to Don Kay's house. I would take one of the modern computer controlled, easy to use defibrillators, and I would explain to Don and his wife how to use it. And I would probably save TSR and Dungeons and Dragons. So that is what I would do. But I hope the rules change thing answers your question, Savo. If I could change one thing about D&D for you, I would lift level requirements, or level caps for elven fighters or cavaliers. Anyway, so moving right along, I wanted to talk a little bit about Bill Time Travel. That should be an RPG. Is that what they do, Damien? I've never looked at psionics for 3.5. In all the time I played 3.5. And yes, I did play a lot of 3rd edition back around the turn of the century. And Remdog, the same is true of Netrunners in Cyberpunk. Same thing. Aren't there any time? There are. There are ample RPGs that have time travel built into them. You can get a time travel mutation in Gamma World, for example. You know what's funny is Joe Facetious asked, "Why aren't there any time travel RPGs?" Bob Jester said, "Lords of Creation," which is a time travel RPG. They both appeared at the same time, and so the chat scroll put them in the same. If I do that, no, it won't. So there's the answer from Bob Jester, Lords of Creation, and then after that in the chat scroll is, why aren't there any time travel RPGs? So it looks like he traveled time to do that. Speaking of pools of dice, I want to zoom back out. I want to talk a little bit about I'm not sure what the game system is. I think somebody told me it was powered by the apocalypse, but I was explaining this to someone earlier this evening about how Blade Runner and Tales from the Loop both work. And this is what you guys are going to see when we start playing Blade Runner on Fridays. So let me demo the system for you. Now, this is just kind of ad hoc, but let's say you're playing a system. Let's do a notepad here. So in the Powered by the Apocalypse system, you have got loose character classes, you have stats, you have skills that are dependent upon your class and that are dependent upon your stats. And I will explain that in just a minute. So let's say, just for the sake of the, here, I think I can do this. Let me find this real quick. All right. We'll look at a Tales from the Loop character sheet. See if I can get this up on the screen. Can I do that? I'm going to put mostly movie stuff into it. Now, this is the Tales from the Loop character sheet, but I want to do this so you guys can kind of get an idea of how simple this system is. So here's the stats: body, tech, heart, mind. And you have skills that fall under each. Depending on your class, and your age, you get a certain amount of points to spend and spread across these. So if you're a jock, you want to focus on body, not tech. But you can also focus on heart. So let's do this. Let's take, say, 21 points. Let's take 21 points here. I'm just kind of showing you guys how the system's going to work a little bit. So 21 points. So let's put 4 in body. So we have a body. Let's just put 2 in tech. 21 points may have been way too many. Let's pare that down. Let's make it like 16. How about heart? Let's put another 4 in heart. So how many is that? That's 10. And we got 5 Well, 5 in mine. That's a bunch. All right. Well, we'll just say we've got a mind of 2. That's still really good, though. Now you go through and you pick up some skills. You pick up some skills, and we'll say, I don't know, sneak of 2, move of 1, force of 1. Let's do lead of 2 and contact of 1. And okay, so here's our hypothetical character. Now this is the same guts of the system. I'm going to put this up on screen next. And we present, share screen. Okay, so here's our stuff that we figured out. Let's say in this hypothetical game, you want to try and you're cornered in a very narrow alley or a hallway, and there's someone stopping you from getting out. They're going to mug you. They're going to beat you up and take the floppy disk that's got the secret the secret information on it, whatever. And you figure because your body is 4 and you can't sneak past them. All right, that's just not going to work. So you're going to try and move past them. So your body is 4, your move is 1. And I'm going to say there's enough room on either side that if you really, really, if you just put the hammer down and sprint, it's going to be easy because there's 3 levels of action difficulty. There's easy, moderate, and hard. Easy requires 1 success. Moderate requires 2. Hard requires 3. Hard is next to impossible. And what constitutes a success? A 6 on any die. A 6 on any die. So we have our little character sheet here. Let's roll body plus move. So our body is 4, our move is 1. That's a total of 5. So we're going to roll 5d6. Where's my die roller? Where's my die roller? Here, we'll do this. There it is. So that's 5. All we need is a d6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we roll. And we have our success. We have our success. Ones don't mean something bad happens. You're just rolling and you're trying to get a success. Let's say I deemed it was moderate. The alley's a little narrow and there's a dumpster on the right. You've only got one way to force your way past this guy. Now we have a success, but none other. Now, the character has to take a condition. And if we look back, at the character sheet, and this is going to differ game type to game type what the conditions are. So let's share a screen again. That's not the one I wanted. Don't worry, I saw your questions. I'm going to do my best to answer them. So if we look down, conditions: upset, scared, exhaustion, injured, and then broken. You can take 1, 2, 3, 4 conditions before you're broken. I'm going to say, as a game master, you're injured. You slam against a wall, you scrape your head, you're injured. Now, the next time you try something, let's say you're going to try and run past this person again. Okay, that's a move. It's still difficult. Now you're at minus 1d6. Now you're only rolling 4d6. And you're trying to get past this person. Now there's luck you can burn and other things. Okay, so no successes. And I say, okay, you're going to take the condition scared. Now you're terrified. This guy is going to do bad things to you. Now it's 3d6. What do you want to do? Well, I'm going to try one more time. And you still need 2 6s on 3d6. You don't get it. You're out of energy. You're out of energy. You're at 2d6. You have to roll 2 successes. Oh, you almost got it. You almost got it. You are upset, scared, exhausted, and injured. You're at minus 5. You can't win here. You can't win. You know, he grabs you and drags you back to the lab or whatever. So that is the Jack White is hard to put away. Not if you're his former bandmate. What the hell is this? I don't even know what that means. I think you got auto correct. All right, on to excess. Are there any third-party AD&D or AD&D close games books you would consider desirable? Yes. Mayfair's Roll Aids, the entire series, if you can get them. A lot of Judges Guild stuff. Those are the two you should be looking for. Yes, there's 45 of you guys watching. A total of 126 if we're counting the watchers over on YouTube, or over on Twitter. So anyway, the reason I showed you that, the reason I showed you guys that is the core mechanism of the Blade Runner RPG. Now, that was Tales from the Loop. In Blade Runner, upset, scared, exhausted, or injured, those are not conditions. Blade Runner's a grown-up game. Tales from the Loop basically, now you know how we're talking about please don't kill my character. Tales from the Loop is one of those games that I would say would be ideal for somebody with that mindset. But there's a lot of role-playing games that use that system, which I want to find this out. Let's see. No, I don't think it's powered by the apocalypse. Or maybe it is. Let me see. Yeah, no, it's not powered by the apocalypse. Let me see. The Year Zero engine. That's it. The Year Zero engine. I've said exhausted and injured sounds like Monday at work. Yeah. So yes, it will use the Year Zero engine. And I'm looking at it, but the core rule book is $50, which I don't have right now. So yeah, we'll just have to do what we can. Maybe tomorrow night talk about character concepts, you know. But let's see. Let me have a quick gander here. See if the PDF, see what that's like. Blade Runner RPG. He say you Blade Runner. Well, the starter set is $20. The core rule book is $25. And those are only PDFs. They do not offer print on demand, which kind of sucks. So we'll see. We'll definitely look into it and see what we're going to be doing. How about a Razor Girl Blade Runner? Yeah, I mean, technically, I've often wondered if that wasn't a nod from William Gibson, but then I remember he did, you know, that's I think the first Sprawl story was Johnny Mnemonic. What was William Gibson's first cyberpunk story? Fragments of a Hologram Rose in 1977. Johnny Mnemonic in 1981 and Burning Chrome in 1982. So he actually cyberpunked before Blade Runner came out. Tell him I'm eating. And I'm sorry, what? All right, guys, I'm going to have to step away. I will be right back. Please bear with me for just a moment, and I'll be back in just a minute. There's a minor thing that requires my attention, so don't go anywhere. Just imagine it's like on a Tuesday night when we're doing the Dwarven Forge and I'm up arranging things, but it may take a couple minutes more. Alrighty, everyone, I'm back. What madness have you gotten up to? So the question was, let me see. Where was it? Anyway, is Tron cyberpunk? Tron is not cyberpunk. Tron is more of a science fantasy game. So here's some aspects of cyberpunk that you should look for. The first is lived in tech. Now, Tron toes that line a little bit with, Flynn and his computer console above the arcade, a house above a video arcade or an apartment above a video arcade. That's kind of edging towards that lived in tech, but not really. Another aspect of cyberpunk is it's really an ethos that William Gibson put forward, and that is the street finds its own uses for things. And he mentions this when a character is talking about taking memory loss inhibitor drug called vasopressin. It's actually a real drug. Back when he was writing his stories, it was really cutting edge. But yes, silhouette and February are good words too. Yes. But the street finds its own uses for things, and a character is talking about drinking heavily to make himself depressed, and then taking lots of vasopressin to make himself remember. And he talked about what a horrible combination it was. Vasopressin is technically to halt the effects of early onset dementia, but the street finds its own uses for things. Another ethic of cyberpunk is weaponized technology at the street level. You're not using your Commodore 64 or your Apple II or your 386 or your MacBook, your Macintosh Portable, whatever. You are to dial up a BBS. You're using them to interfere with the power company, things like that. So that's a little bit of what cyberpunk is. It tends to be gritty. It tends to be dystopic. If you consider the world of Blade Runner, and I include 2049 in that, it is a it is a very dystopian world. Outside the city is not really a concept because it's all bug farms to make protein so people can have something to eat. When Kay brings the wooden horse to the technician, played, I cannot remember the actor's name, but he asks him, he says, "Is this wood? Is this real wood? I can get you a horse. I can get you a Wallace horse," referring to Neander Wallace's genetically grown replicants in exchange for the horse. Just a little handful sized lump of wood. David Peoples wrote Soldier, and he considers it a sidequel. He considers it part of the Blade Runner universe. The Battle of Tannhauser Gate is referred to in Soldier. The Max Headroom incident. we do live in a cyberpunk dystopia. If you could go back and tweak the technology, yes, Fifth Element had a lot of cyberpunk in it. Fifth Element was a very cyberpunk film. But if you could go back and tell Gibson to tweak the technology a little bit, the neural interface stuff, and understand, a lot of people think that Blade Runner is set like at, just after the year 2000. You have to pay attention. Gibson never states a specific date, but he talks about the turn of the century. It's clear he means 2100 into the early 2200s. He's talking about like 130 years in the future, not from his perspective when he wrote his first cyberpunk stories in the late 70s and early 80s. He's not talking about 30 years in the future. He's talking about like 130 years in the future. Now, I wish somebody had sat down and explained Moore's law to William Gibson a little bit better, because one of the things that that the main character Case is trying to bargain for his life with to get out of Chiba City is a stolen Palm Top computer that he's installed 3 megabytes of RAM into. And in 1981, a computer with megabytes of memory was like a mini computer. Okay. That 3 megabytes of memory in 1981. Let's Google that. Yeah, 3 megabytes of storage. Let's do this. Let's make sure it knows. RAM cost in 1981. Let's do that. In 1981, 3 megabytes of RAM would have cost approximately $15,000 to $20,000. So, not in 1981. Your average PC did not have 64K in 1981. The IBM 5150 came with 16K or 32K or 64K of RAM, and the machine cost about $600, $649 or $549. But anyway, yeah, $15,000 to $20,000 for the RAM in 1981. 3 megabytes of RAM, even today with the DRAM shortage, is still next to nothing. The idea of gigabytes of memory when Gibson was writing this would have been just so completely around the bend. So Gibson got some of the technology curve wrong, but not, I think, in the overall. But if you ask William Gibson in 1981, if you gave him a stack of information about 2021, he'd go, cyberpunk dystopia. That's a cyberpunk dystopia. And he'd be right. He'd be right. I want to scroll back up because onto access, asking the good questions tonight. How much memory did the Apollo capsules have? So the AGC, the Apollo guidance computer, had about 13 kilowords of memory. Understand, a word length in computer terms is different from kilobytes. Uh, but we can Google that. What is the equivalent in RAM to the AGC Apollo computer? I think it'll understand. I'm sorry, had 2048 15-bit plus a parity bit words, which equates to roughly 4 kilobytes of RAM. The AGC had roughly 4 kilobytes of RAM. No, these were 15-bit words. Now, that was the RAM. The ROM in it, the read-only memory that would have contained, and I hesitate to use this term to refer to what the AGC was doing, but for lack of a better term, think of the ROM as the operating system it was running, was about 36K words or 72 kilobytes. And it ran at 1 megahertz. But I will also say this. Robert Phillips, yes, you remember Sig Sig Sputnik brandishing portable CD players as cyberpunky. Absolutely. But the computer, the AGC, was incredibly robust. The computer could undergo a hard reset and then continue the program it was running exactly where it left off. Like, it would not flush RAM. You could reset the computer. That happened with, if you guys watch any of the movies about the moon landing or just read up on it, at one point in the landing cycle of Apollo 11, the flight computer on the lander started receiving too much data. And it went into a 1202 alarm. To stop that and get the computer back, they literally rebooted it mid-flight. I mean, imagine you're on a plane from, I don't know, Orlando to Nashville. And the pilot looks down and the computer's just showing a bunch of errors, and he just shuts it off, waits a few seconds, and turns it back on. All the INS data, all the flight data, all the flight control, everything is right there, exactly where it was. So, so that is that is. I hope that answers your questions. Yeah, they did turn it off and turn it on again. Essentially, they didn't cut power to the computer. They boot cycled the computer. Shutting off the computer basically would have meant pulling a breaker and then flipping it back on. But to swerve all the way back over into cyberpunk, yeah, it's gritty near futurism. It's dystopic. An often overlooked sunny cyberpunk is the Bridge trilogy by William Gibson. I think he wanted to try something a little different. So the Bridge trilogy, it's still technically a cyberpunk dystopia, but he released it in the 1990s and said, okay, what about like the 2020s? I'm going to write a book about the 2020s. And it still does have some cheesy, Bill, you missed the mark a little bit on the tech, but I would say it's a lot closer to the mark as far as overall tech than the Sprawl trilogy, even though I like the Sprawl trilogy more. Unto Excess, I think only now with the ISS, which of course is going away in the next couple of years, is there enough leisure time to do that kind of thing? It was considered weird for astronauts to by ground control for astronauts to not constantly be doing astronaut things, to the point where you could get in trouble and removed from all flight for doing non-astronaut things when you were up there. Case in point, the ham sandwich incident. The ham sandwich incident. Was it Alan Bean? I can't remember, but one of the astronauts jokingly took up a ham sandwich in his suit. And he was like, well, I'm going to eat it. And they're like, oh no, you know, that's going to mess with your diet. Don't do that. And he's like, well, I just ought to eat the damn sandwich. And then his, whoever was up there with him was like, yeah, well, how about you give me some? He's like, no, it's mine. It was to ground control. It was kind of a big deal, but you flip the script. The Apollo, was it the Apollo 11 astronauts? One of the Apollo missions. So on their suits, they had day planners. They had these Mylar covered day planners, and they, you know, literally the tabs on the pages were big enough they could take their, because the suit fingers were like as thick as two of my fingers. They could you know, they could flip through and look at stuff, and they would say, okay, this is the procedure for doing this at this time, go over here and take this measurement. The one of the Apollo missions, the ground crew who put that together put gag pages in, and the gag pages were Playboy pictures. They photocopied images out of Playboy and slid them in the plastic sleeves, and then the facing page with the notes was, you know, observe the twin moons of Venus, you know, or, you know, look, check the sine curve on this one. Just a little bit of playfulness. So it's just kind of a bit of humor, you know. So it literally varied person to person. Yes, Joe, I'm aware. Food crumbs are kind of a problem in zero G. Not so much. The guys, they got, as long as it wasn't like ultra crumbly pastry, they actually did okay with bread and stuff like that. Let's see. Oh, we're getting back to we're actually getting back to D&D related stuff. You learned something sad about D&D. As additions went on, the maximum amount of charges in a wand reduced. 1d20 plus 80 in 1e, 50 and 37, but auto recharges in 5. That's terrible. I don't want that. You. Oh, and by the way, while we're on the topic of the space program, no, we did not invest $1 million inventing a space pen. That did not happen. And the Russians did not use pencils because graphite would screw up instrumentation. Graphite crumbs could do that. They used pens that they bought from the United States. Luc Vepere, good to see you. But anyway, yeah, no, I don't like I do not like the way that 5e does a lot of stuff. And to be honest, one of the things that I want to hear them, Gonzalo, so you start typing while I'm talking about D&D. What did Mayfair produce? Dude, it's like 40 titles. Hang on. Yeah, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 36, 40, 44, 48, 51 titles. Your GM makes it so your wizard character doesn't know how much charges her wands have. She just hopes. That is how it should be. That is how it should be. Because when in AD&D, when a wand runs out of charges, it crumbles. It quits working. Now, some AD&D wands can be recharged. So if you're worried, just keep putting charges into it. But some can't. They just quit working one day. If you ever go back, have I ever run a game of Star Frontiers or Traveler on stream? You'd buy that for a nickel. Wands are for baton twirlers, stabs are where it's at. Absolutely. But what, Gonzalo, what is your opinion on rods? When they're doing, hey, how you doing? Oh no, that's okay. Savo, I'm just teasing you. Hell, I'm just glad you're here. I haven't seen you in forever. Anyway, yes, I did not run Traveler. Kyle ran Traveler on Wednesdays for a while. Can you overcharge stabs, wands, or rods? No. No, you cannot. They'll just, I mean, you're okay. I'm going to recharge the wand of magic missiles. Peep, 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 peep. Is it full? I don't know. Keep casting them at it, you know. My only hang up with the Rolaids books is that while a lot of them do give a lot of meat to the bump the table. A lot of them do give a lot of good meat to the game master. There's a lot of stuff they introduce that, while numbers wise, it fits within the realm of AD&D. It does not necessarily jive with what your campaign world might be. So they're good ideas, but it's just like, I don't, your Dark Elves chapter in the book on elves does not necessarily fit with my vision of the drow. So while it's neat, I'm sticking with the drow, I feel like I've still got that book. I know I have a Rolaids elves book here. Everyone should give you their Rolaids stuff. I'm still waiting on those moon opinions, Gonzalo. RoboCop is cyberpunk? Yes, RoboCop is cyberpunk. Man, it's over here, maybe? No, it's all Battletech stuff. I don't see it. It's all hero system. Yeah, it's somebody I think it was hell, I can't remember who it was. But somebody once sent me just a boatload at like 4 or so Rolaids materials, and we did a deep dive on them. The movie with the 3 Demolition Man, which is a cyberpunk movie. Demolition Man is a cyberpunk movie. And the example of it being a cyberpunk movie, remember when I said the street finds its own uses for things, and Sylvester Stallone couldn't find any toilet paper? And so he starts shouting obscenities at the ticket machine and collects up enough paper to go wipe his ass with. Yeah. My cat just stepped on my touchscreen, so disregard anything sent from my account for the last 3 minutes. Virtuosity is another is another cyberpunk movie, an oft overlooked cyberpunk movie. Watch the moon landing at 2 years old. Remember the excitement, but that's about it. I find arguments against us having landed on the moon at all compelling as all. Okay, that's fair enough. You're wrong. We did in fact land on the moon multiple times. Rich Denver, what I considered. Oh, yeah. So we talked about that, Rich. Hello, by the way, Rich. It's been a minute or two. Welcome. Good to see you again. I'm going to do a YouTube short, by the way, about Bards of Greyhawk. So prepare yourself. Prepare yourself. But use Rolaids. Especially if we order Italian. I like that. There's a place around here. I tell you what, any of you guys come and visit me down here in Central Florida. Any of you guys come down here and visit me in Central Florida, I will take you to Giovanni's. I will introduce you to the best garlic knots you're ever going to want to eat and the best eggplant Parmesan sub ever. I don't care if you don't like eggplant Parmesan sub. You will have some eggplant Parmesan sub and you will fall in love with it. That is an unsolicited ad. I fucking love Giovanni's and I fucking love their garlic knots. They're amazing. I'm doing this all the way to the moon. I am 860 away from 10,000. That's right, Gonzalo. 860 away. Wait, it was like 849 earlier today. What happened? God dang it. And when, yeah, I'd let you guys pay the check. Your property is our property. Anyway, so would I consider Tron cyberpunk? No, because we talked about this. Cyberpunk um is dirtier. Cyberpunk is grittier. Cyberpunk is more of a dystopia. Now, what could you do to make Tron cyberpunk? The idea of being put inside the computer, kind of cyberpunky. Um, you give Encom way more power. Encom is out there. Flynn is not just worried about his data getting erased. Flynn is worried about Encom sending enforcers to his house. He's always on the run. He's not, I mean, Flynn's arcade is going and going and going. He's getting his money wired to him because he's living in a van because he doesn't dare slow down. Yes, I will have cheesecake at the in-person con. At 10K, I do the Watusi. No, I will do the Bat Tootsie. Um, the cheesecake incident. I love that. If you want Tron to be dirtier and grittier, the server is just stored in a room where the admins smoke. Um, I can believe it. I can absolutely believe it, Luke. So, in case there's some people that have come on and you've missed this, the game that we're going to be picking up for Fridays, yes, it did, Remdog. That is what I heard. If I'm being completely honest, the second Tron movie was pretty good, and it is cyberpunk. Is The Matrix a cyberpunk movie? No, The Matrix is a bunch of BDSM fetishists dancing around in designer colostomy bags, pretending to be in a John Woo film while spouting off back of the cereal box level philosophy. I'm sorry, I have strong negative feelings about The Matrix. I think that's an astute observation. Um, anyway, yes, we will be playing the Blade Runner TTRPG on our Friday live play slot. I don't know if it will be starting this week. It may have to wait till next week, until after I get paid, so I can get the rules. Nearly 60. Yes, 57 of you maniacs out there watching. The distinction between science fiction versus sci-fi as a setting genre, and what would be a movie example of each. Okay, a sci-fi movie. Star Wars is a sci-fi movie. Another sci-fi movie, Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan is a good sci-fi movie. Science fiction, generally, if you're going to say it out like that, you're referring to hard sci-fi or hard science fiction. As far as I know, there are two hard SF films, and I take exception to people calling both of these. Is Minority Report cyberpunk? Yes. Minority Report is a very cyberpunk film. And by the way, Savo, you activated my trap card here, so I'm going to go ahead and say this. I like the Matrix. Okay, Kabuki. I just like that little rant. It's an okay film. But DM Blackwall Blade Runner is fun. Played 2 or 3 scenarios, some design issues for long-term campaigns. Thank you. Good to know, DM Blackwall. Um, Now, one that is not a. Oh, no, I'm sorry. We're talking about the two hard science fiction movies, although we may have to go three and include The Martian, but 2001 A Space Odyssey and Interstellar. I had someone insist, like, beat me over the head with the idea that um 2001 A Space Odyssey is purely science fiction. It is hard science fiction through and through. There's no space fantasy in it. To which I say bollocks. The Stargate, the psychedelic parts, the aging, the witnessing himself, that sort of thing. Basically, if you include fantastical hand wavium stuff, you're not pure hard SF. Silent running, silent running is darn close to a hard SF setting if we accept the premise that for some reason literally the entire planet Earth is under weather control, is 72 degrees pole to pole, and we have no want or need for any plants whatsoever on the Earth, which is ridiculous. We would be dead in a few generations if we did that. So there's two examples of sci-fi and two examples of science fiction, of hard science fiction. Yes, Andromeda Strain and Colossus the Forbidden Project. I would say, as hard SF goes, that Andromeda Strain is the better hard SF movie than 2001. Everything in Andromeda Strain is frighteningly plausible. Yeah, Jorge, that's exactly it. You need an old man with a pointy hat and a one at the end of 2001. Okay, so Joe Facetious, let's break it down. Let's talk Interstellar. The point of the astronauts going to the planets around Gargantua, they were going there to figure out which planets around the supermassive black hole would be habitable. The woman who died on the massive water world, she wasn't just there by herself. Now, if you're talking about if I'm drawing a blank on the actress's name, why did she jettison and go? Remember, she had the endurance and all of the frozen embryos. It is implied. It is implied that that there is a way to incubate them. So she would basically be raising a couple of kids to, when they reach adulthood, to raise a few more kids and a few more kids, and then eventually you'd bring more and more kids out of hibernation in the endurance on the at least habitable, if not entirely hospitable, a desert planet that she had landed on, and she would be she would basically spend the next how many ever decades with raising those kids up, saying, okay, this is your next duty, that and they would and then they would have their own kids as well. So slowly over time, you would have a small population growing. So that is my that is my thought on it. But also that once they got Cooper Station and presumably other O'Neill cylinders, because even though the Earth has been depopulated, it's not, as though it's not as though like just one O'Neill cylinder is going to hold the remaining, say 2 billion humans. So there's probably multiple other. Take care, great old ones. We'll see you around. But I do wonder. I do wonder. Well, that's your opinion, Joe Facetious. I love Interstellar. I absolutely love Interstellar. And I'm just going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say, as film goes, I think as a science fiction film goes, I think Interstellar is as good as 2001: A Space Odyssey. All right, all right, all right. Hey, y'all like Interstellar? Be a lot cooler if you did. Now, I dislike Matthew McConaughey for a few different reasons, but I can look past them to enjoy Interstellar. My big gripe with Matthew McConaughey, warning, college football rant coming up here, is thinking he can insert himself into coaching decisions at the University of Texas. I'm sorry, if I was Steve Sarkisian and that lanky actor strolled over to me and started talking to me about what he thought the team should be doing and who he thought the team should be recruiting and that sort of thing, I would say, if you're not in a uniform and you're not on my coaching staff, get the fuck off my practice field. Okay, Gonzalo, that's fine. You're welcome to believe that. Wow, we have meandered a lot tonight, though. It's fairly late, and I see a Labrador snoot poking into my studio door. Zeus is looking for me. I'm over here, boy. There you are. So I think we're going to go ahead and stop it there. Tomorrow, guys, we are going to be back. We are going to be playing, or at least talking about character concepts for Blade Runner, the RPG. I'm excited about that. I'm looking forward to getting back into Sci-Fi Friday. So I hope you guys will tune in and check us out then. Saturday afternoon, I will be here and we will be watching, or you will be watching myself, Dungeon Minister, and Yang Yan Zhao as we assault your pop culture sensibilities and work on taking over the planet on the Nerd Council of Doom. I'm going to be seeding that out through the Delver's Dungeon, so you can watch it here, but please go over there and give us a subscribe. Anyway, I love you guys. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for tuning in tonight. I'm going to be back to the regular things Monday. So, Savo, it was lovely to see you again. Thank you for popping in. You have been missed. So, one thing I can tell you, one way or the other, regardless of what you may or may not think, owl bears are absolutely not science fiction. They are science fact. Peace. Good night. Love you all.
Have you seen my owl bear? Here's to all the weirdos everywhere in the woods and in the air. Have you seen my owl bear? Should I shave off all my hair? Bobs are all around. Some live in tunnels underground. Some are fat, some are rich, some are sleeping in a ditch. Can you ride a crooked horse without a saddle, way off course. Naked as a toad, all the way to Smoky Joe's. Have you seen the little creep driving fast in his little green Jeep? He smells like fish and brandy, but his rotten teeth look dandy. Take me to the show, I don't care if fast or slow. From action flicks to dancing dicks, just take me to the show.